What's going on? My name is Michael and welcome to Fudge Muppet. More importantly, welcome to Starfield. We were fortunate enough to get early access to Starfield, so between myself and Scott, who I run this channel with, we have accrued hundreds of hours of experience exploring the vast expanse of the universe, role-playing multiple characters on multiple playthroughs, and testing out all the game has to offer. This game is huge, and if you want to hear more thoughts on it, you can watch our initial thoughts video linked in the pinned comment. Starfield is a sensational game, and I would highly encourage you to hop into it ASAP if you haven't already got it. But there are some things we do wish we knew before we started playing, and in this video I'm going to give you 10 of them so you're better prepared than we were, and of course there won't be any spoilers for the story. Firstly, take your time getting absorbed in this brand new world. If you want to just explore some planets and have a look around and fight through a big pirate base and get loot, you can. If a quest sends you to a location on a planet but you really want to land somewhere else nearby that looks interesting, just do it. There are so many cool quests and things to find off the beaten path that will make you feel so immersed in this world. You may remember we were apprehensive ages ago when we first saw the Starfield trailers, but in short, Bethesda has hit a home run here and Starfield is great. If you're a big fan of role-playing games, you're going to love Starfield, so make sure you savor every moment. But that's not to say the game is short or that the fun will end fast. It doesn't, it just keeps going and going. There is a lot of handcrafted content and you should take your time to explore it all. I would strongly recommend that you don't rush through the main quest at all. You can if you really want to, but the game is more enjoyable in our experience if you don't. In saying that, I have to say it feels like Bethesda definitely listened to fan feedback from Skyrim, as they didn't create a huge sense of urgency in the main story right away like they've done before. There's no quick dragons feel to it, which allows you to do whatever you want without feeling silly from a role-playing perspective. You can go do tons of side quests, and very importantly, I would strongly recommend you go get wrapped up in all the extensive faction plotlines that are big enough to feel like main storylines in themselves. You can do multiple factions in a row with many side quests in between, and even a bit of outpost building too, or a lot if that's your thing. But you don't have to do outposts at all if you don't want to. I didn't in my first playthrough and I had a great time. More on that later, but in summary, it makes sense in Starfield to just go be in the world, explore planets, meet new characters, and get involved in many quests. The game is perfect for this, so don't feel like you're missing out if you just go do whatever it is that you want to do. Next up, definitely do prioritize role-playing over starting skills when building your character. This is something we did do, but I wasn't 100% sure if I would regret it at the time, but now I can say I definitely do not. This may sound like common sense, but what I mean is that you don't have to worry too much about picking a background that perfectly aligns with your skill set. For example, I chose the gangster background on my first playthrough because that was the kind of character I wanted to play. I started with the ability to pickpocket with some shotgun prowess and boxing for unarmed. I didn't use unarmed and I only stole things a little bit, but I did max out my shotgun capabilities. Anyway, I only truly cared about one of the 3 skills, but I had the best experience as a gangster because Starfield has so much good dialogue and constant speech options related to the background you pick, your traits, and your skills. It seems like there's even more than Fallout New Vegas in terms of speech checks, so I have to give credit to Bethesda for doing what they said they would. I constantly had cool dialogue that was related to my background as a gangster, and now we've done multiple playthroughs, we know for sure that it's like this for all the backgrounds we've chosen so far. For traits, we've found that the faction ones and religion ones come up quite a lot compared to some others, but definitely pick whichever ones you want for role-playing, as they do affect things, and so far from our playthroughs, they seem very well written into the world. Obviously, it's nice if you can pick a background that has the skills you're going to use from the start, but I would say that if you were choosing between 2 backgrounds, one of them has all 3 skills you'll use and the other one just has 1 skill you want to start with, but this other one has way more of the vibe and essence of the character you want to roleplay, then definitely go with the roleplaying one. You can always just unlock the skills you want later as you level up. Speaking of skills, you'll unlock skill points as you level up, and then you can use them to unlock new skills or get the next rank in a skill you already have, so long as you've completed the challenge. Something super important you need to know before playing is that you should rarely hoard your skill points. It's much better to use them from the start to unlock many of the things you're going to end up using. A large reason for this is that the challenges are not retroactive, so if you get security, which is used for picking open locks and computers, you'll have to open 5 locks locks to go up a rank and then 15 locks to unlock the next rank. You don't want to be deep into the game like I was before getting it, and then I've done all this stuff and probably picked 100 locks by now, but then after I pick 5 locks I need to go find 15 new ones, and it just feels a little more grindy than I would have liked. You will complete pretty much all of the challenges passively as you play your related character, so when you've got skill points to use, just pause and have a good think about what you may want to do and just get started and unlock that first rank to get the ball rolling. Subscribe for all the guides we've got on building good characters too, where we'll explain more, but basically you can often go broader than you think in many skill areas, particularly on your first playthrough. You're going to level up many times, so you'll have the opportunity to figure out more specifics for what you want later on, but to start with, just get things that are obviously useful for your current playstyle. Speaking of building your character, one thing I will say I wish I knew was that the combat tree doesn't need much attention if that's not your style. If you don't want to spend lots of skill points in it, you don't have to, and you'll still be able to play the game competently enough running around and winning battles. Sure, it's a lot easier and much cooler when you're using cool combat skills on your combat character. I just want you to know that the game won't be unplayable if you don't, so long as you're using good guns. I wouldn't try to use melee without skill point investment, particularly later on. It also depends a little on how good you are at shooters in general, but both Scott and I found the game to be challenging enough at times, but not too hard at all without getting heavy combat skill investment. Some enemies might feel rather tanky, but it won't make things unplayable. What you can do for a nice boost without spending too many skill points here is to invest into a damage type. So you could put 3 skill points into laser weapons or ballistics, which is what I went with, and with 3 ranks of that you'll be able to play the game well without committing to any one weapon type like pistols or rifles. I did boost up my shotgun skill and did stick to that with ballistics, but that was it for me in the combat tree for 99% of my first playthrough. Also, there are a lot of ammo types in the game, so if you do want to specialize, you can just go with one weapon type. So I carried multiple shotguns that all use different types of shotgun ammo, so you don't have to switch to secondary weapons like pistols that don't suit your specific playstyle. You might have to in early stages of the game, but not later on. Now, another general thing I wish I did from the very start was use the boost pack skill. This is a short one, and sure, some people might not want it for certain niche builds, but I'm telling you, if you're on the fence, use a boost pack. To not use a boost pack would just feel super strange to us. We've been using it on pretty much all of our characters, and it just makes traversing the environment so much easier. Even sprinting across the surface of a planet when you're running low on oxygen, you can just jump and boost pack across while your oxygen recharges, and you can get ready to sprint again. Obviously, it can help in combat, and it also helps just getting around. Maybe you got up on top of some tall structure but accidentally fell off. Well, you can just conveniently boost pack your way back there. There are different types of boost packs too for you to experiment with, like the skip capacity boost pack, which seems better for constant dashing jumps that allow you to move forwards and sideways and generally be more agile instead of getting much verticality. There's a basic boost pack, which is weak and stock standard, and also a power boost pack that allows you to pump up vertically really high all in one big boost. There's also a balanced boost pack. They all have their own uses, so play around with them. I just really think the majority of people watching this will benefit a lot from putting at least 1 skill point into this, but even 2 or 3 can be worth it if you find you're really enjoying its use. The next one is really personal for me specifically, so I was finding heaps of cool expensive contraband on different planets, but of course I couldn't take it with me to sell because the scanners would pick it up when I'd want to land in a city. For ages I was looking around for some method of getting around this. I was looking at the deception skill, looking at shipbuilding stations in the dodgier cities like Neon for special parts, and I couldn't find anything. Eventually, a loading screen after tens of hours of gameplay sent me in the right direction, which is going to the Poroma system located here and landing on Poroma 3, where that red mile place is from the trailer. Anyway, the ship's vendor here sells cargo parts that have shielding capacity, so you'll want to put them on your ship. If you do find the Crimson Fleet pirates, which I won't explain in this video, there's a ship vendor involved with that who also sells it. You can buy these signal jammers to increase the effectiveness of evading the scans too. The trade authority vendors on planets will buy your smuggled contraband and stolen goods too, as will Crimson Fleet vendors and the bartender in the Red Mile. Just make sure you put it in your ship's cargo manually and not just carry the contraband in your personal inventory, or you'll always get caught. Speaking of vendors, many of them in the game will stock cool pieces of gear and you'll be wondering if they're worth buying. Well, the next thing I wish I knew before playing Starfield is to spend that money. Credits are plentiful enough in the long run in Starfield, just being effective at inventory management and regularly selling what you loot. You're going to have a more enjoyable experience if you buy that cool shiny weapon with good stats or spend big on upgrading your spaceship or perhaps buying a brand new one. I frequently just buy up all the ammo at every vendor for the guns I use and sell them all the stuff I don't use, especially ammo which I collect as it's weightless. My main character also didn't make outposts and do crafting, so I actually just sold all of my resources for that character, which helped me get even more credits. Obviously, to start with, you'll have to save up for something that you want, but the game strikes a good balance as you get into it. But basically, don't be stingy. You'll eventually get to a point where you're buying whatever you want for your build, so it's good to enjoy the journey along the way. One of my best early purchases was a shotgun called Boom Boom with the explosive effect that I took with me everywhere. Sure, you could get a regular model shotgun like this and upgrade it with similar modifications yourself if that's your thing, but the chance of finding this exact model and it being explosive is pretty unlikely, so buying it earlier on makes sense and still feels quite special. Shipbuilding is also super fun and can be pricey, but just get stuck into it and just don't be that person with 500,000 credits who never bought anything they wanted until they're 50 hours in. That brings me to my next point, which is a small one, however, which is to be aware of ship piloting requirements. So in my playthrough, I figured I'd just be a rich criminal and buy some of the best ships on offer, but when I went to buy them, I realized I didn't have the skills to fly them. You'll need to get into rank 3 and rank 4 of the piloting skill if you want to fly the best and baddest spaceships around. And when you're in the shipbuilder mode, just make sure you check requirements on certain parts too. Basically, if you want to get into shipbuilding, you can at any stage without skill investment and still have fun, but to truly be good, you'll want to check out the tech tree and get the piloting skill. Just note that even if your companion has strong piloting skills, that doesn't mean they'll fly the spaceship, so they won't allow you to just get B or C class ships and make them your home ship, which is the ship you use, unless you personally have the skills needed. Do subscribe for our shipbuilding guide and our space pirate guide too. Speaking of shipbuilding, you may find shipbuilding and many other systems in Starfield to be overwhelming at first, particularly outposts and crafting too. None of them are actually super necessary to enjoy a good playthrough or to get lots of credits, and this is something I would have loved to know in advance. I was worried the game could be a settlement building scrapathon, but it's not at all. Here's how all the systems work though, briefly. For shipbuilding, at whichever spaceport you landed at, go and talk to the technician, say you want to modify your ship, and then selecting upgrade allows you to scroll through parts already on the ship and upgrade them to better versions of those parts. But if you want to get more involved, which of course you do, you open up the shipbuilder, and here you can manipulate and move the parts as you see fit, and open the menu and select from all the different parts and place them. Keep in mind that some pieces have requirements, such as the docker must reach the outside edge of the ship, or sometimes certain parts have a rank, A being the lowest, followed by B and C. And as I said, increasing your piloting skill unlocks the ability to use ships with these parts. And do note that your reactor needs to be the same class or higher than other parts. For instance, a Class B reactor can power B and A parts but not C parts. I highly recommend getting in there and experimenting with it. For outposts, it's very easy. Just go to a planet, go to a spot you want to build an outpost, open the scanner, press X on the controller or equivalent, place the beacon, and you are done. Now you can open the build panel and build away, set up a mine, set up some power, make a house, and congratulations, you're a settler. Also, if you do end up owning any player homes, then you can upgrade them with the settlement menu as well. For research, go to a research lab with the correct resources and contribute them in the menu. Do note that you can have a chance to get research progress where other resources are checked off for free, so my strategy is always to add the most plentiful resources first in a chance of that happening. Once you have unlocked the research, some of which have additional skill requirements, you can then go to a weapons bench, spacesuit bench, chemical lab, or cooking station, and the rest is intuitive, but all this research gives you access to new schematics for crafting. We'll make a more comprehensive guide on all of these systems soon. The final thing I wish I knew was just how fun and worthwhile scanning and exploration is. Investing in skills related to scanning and discovery is not a waste. In fact, it can provide some of the fastest leveling we have experienced across multiple characters, like seriously fast. That's not to say you need to pick it for every character, you really don't have to, and I didn't pick it for ages, but it really does give you a heavy XP boost. The surveying skill in the science tree is essential for exploring because it increases effective scanner range range, so you don't have to be right in a creature's face, and it allows you to collect scans of an area much quicker, and if you get the zoologist and botany skills, you get the bonuses of extra harvest from animals and plants, but most importantly, the scan requirements for them to be completed data entries are much lower. At rank 3, for example, instead of having to scan an alien 8 times like you do with no ranks, you only have to do it 5 times, 4 times at the 4th rank. Personally, I think prioritize zoology if you're going this route for your character, as animals can move around and can be harder to track down compared to plants, but honestly both are worthwhile and the XP yields are huge and make the skill investment worth it in my opinion. Again, it's not for everyone, but if you're planning on an explorer, beast hunter, or outpost centric build, I would strongly recommend it. Hit like if I helped you, subscribe to get more Starfield content headed your way as we're going to be covering the game extensively. Bethesda has done a fantastic job with this brand new world, and from a role-playing and gameplay perspective, it's just a whole lot of fun. Socials are in the description, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon with more Starfield.